Right, it's Monday, start of a new week. We're all stuck inside. Time to get a bit creative. Welcome back to another video. Of course, we're all stuck inside still and for the foreseeable future, and it's important we stay indoors, but it doesn't mean we can't do photography. We've had a couple of videos about home photography. We've got 5 projects you can try at home right now without leaving your house at all. We've got a video all about taking photos of Lego and toys and stuff like that, which is actually really creative. But today, let's get a little bit more creative. Let's try out something a little bit different. We've talked about food photography before. We've kind of looked a little bit at drink photography. We've taken photos of Coca-Cola bottles, for example, but let's combine some various things. Let's get a bit creative. Let's get a little bit interesting with some other stuff. You can probably see some of this a little bit kind of laid out in front of me. You've probably seen the thumbnail of this video as well, which will be the final photo. But we're gonna take a nice photo of a creative idea. I saw something very similar kind of online. I wanted to try out my own spin on it with different drinks for kind of points on a clock. So the 12, the 3, the 6, and the 9, and then little spoons in the middle as the kind of hands. So we're gonna have a breakfast drink, which in this case is gonna be orange juice. We're gonna have a lunch drink, which in this case is gonna be coffee. We're gonna have a kind of afternoon drink, just water, a bit of lime, a bit of lemon, lovely. And then we're gonna have a dinner drink, which in this case, we're gonna do wine. Now, I don't really like wine, but you know, it works as a dinner drink, I think. I'm gonna spruce up the set a little bit. So first things first, I'm using like a flat lay, a white marble flat lay, which is just a vinyl sheet that I bought online. It works really well for this kind of thing because it looks great, white, it's nice and reflective with the light as well, so you get a nice kind of lit up picture. Looks great, I think it works really well for this kind of thing as well, nice and smart. You know, and then I've just got my 4 drinks. Now, first things first, I've got my orange juice, I've got my coffee, my water, and my wine. And I've set them up in the positions they would be on a clock. Obviously, I've filled them up, but I want to garnish them a little bit. It look really boring if I just have those 4. So I've popped a bit of orange slice into the glass with the orange juice. I've got some oranges around the orange juice as well to kind of liven that up. Got some beans around the coffee as well. Just literally just poured them out next to the coffee, and how they fell, pretty much exactly how I've left them. I'd never be able to arrange them the way I want. So I've just let them fall out of the bag onto the flat lay next to the coffee, and I'm just gonna have them like that. Then I've got this little bit of plant from a little plant in my garden that we've popped next to the water, along with some lemons and some limes, just to liven it up, you know, get a bit of vibrant color in there. This works really well. Oh, it smells good. Does smell nice as well. And then just some red grapes and a cork next to the wine. That's really livening things up. Now, I tried this with a few different setups. I tried this with just the drinks. I tried it with the drinks and then a bit of fruit and the coffee beans next to it. But I felt that it needed something a little bit extra. So I've added, like I said, this little bit here. I've also got this plant, which you would not believe how much of a difference this makes to the overall image. I've also added some extra grapes so that each corner has something, and just the corner of a tea towel poking in from the bottom left as well. So I think that overall really adds to the image. It fills up the frame and it just looks good. You know, there's pops of color everywhere. And then I've just used 2 spoons in the middle. So let's talk a little bit about lighting as well. So you can probably see I've got a light on me right now. It's right here. Nice soft light coming onto me there. So I've just got continuous lighting. I'm not using flash. I was even tempted to just use the natural light from the windows, but I'm just using continuous lights. So I've got 2 set up, 1 to the top left of the overall flat lay image, and then 1 to the bottom right. Now I'm using the top left one as the key light. And in some situations, I'm trying different lighting, but in some situations, I'm just using that light. And then I'm also using this light, which I've got on me now, in the bottom right of the image. I'm turning that on, I'm turning it off, I'm experimenting a little bit, but generally speaking, I'm having the main light top left, and then this second light, much lower power, bottom right. So you're getting a little bit of shadow, but then nice soft shadows. This light's just filling in those shadows a little bit as well. Otherwise, you could, of course, just use natural light from a window. So I've set this up on my kitchen counter, which happens to be in the middle of the room, but you could absolutely just set it up anywhere. So next to a window, and you're gonna have nice, soft, pretty much diffuse light coming in through that window. Daylight is perfect for this kind of thing. So there's absolutely nothing to stop you doing something like that. So lighting, that's pretty straightforward. We've talked about that in a lot of videos, but essentially a 1 or a 2 light setup is gonna be great. If you only have 1 light, no worries. You can pop a main light over in the top left of the image like we've done, and then just have maybe a white bit of card or anything white really that can reflect that light back onto the image. That's just gonna help fill in those shadows a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about camera setup. Now, normally I'd want to use a tripod for this kind of thing, but the exact image I'm going for is right overhead, and it's very much a top-down image, straight down into the middle of the image. So I couldn't use a tripod for that. I could have used a C-stand to actually kind of have my camera locked in overhead. That would have been super easy. But unfortunately, here at home, I just don't have a C-stand to hand. So I've had to go handheld, which is no worries. It just means I've had to bump that shutter speed up a little bit more just to make sure I'm getting rid of any kind of camera shake. Now, I was shooting on a 24 to 70mm lens. I was using the Sony a7 III, which is actually great for high ISO as well if I need to use that, but I didn't actually have to crank that up too much. I was shooting at about f8 to make sure that I had a nice deep depth of field, because some of these glasses are different heights. You know, they're not too different, but the wine glass in particular is quite a bit taller than the others. So the depth of field did matter, certainly did matter. f8 and a shutter speed of about 1/100th of a second, 1/80th of a second to drop down to a little bit just to get a bit more light in there. And that was fine. That was enough to actually compensate for any kind of handshake. There's image stabilization in the camera anyway, so it doesn't matter too much, but certainly making sure I was over 1/70th meant that I could mess around with the focal length a little bit to actually get the image I wanted. Now, I did play around with the focal length that I was shooting this at. I tried obviously around 35mm, and I settled around 35, between 35 and 50mm seemed to be where I was having the most joy. I wanted to make sure I was getting everything in with the elements I've got kind of popped around the corners. I wanted them poking into the image, but I didn't want to be capturing too much of that. I wanted the focus to be on this middle part, this kind of clock looking part that we've got there. So about between 35 and 50, I played around with a few, and that's the joy obviously of digital photography, is you can just snap a bunch of pictures, which is what I did. And I came away with some images that I really liked, took them onto the computer. To be honest, didn't need to do an awful lot of editing. Most of the work was done in kind of pre-production, setting up the flat lay, setting up the lighting. Once that's all pretty much in place and sorted, you don't really have to do a lot in the way of editing. I raised the black level a little bit using the curves adjustment, like we've talked about in previous videos, just to give a slightly faded effect, and that's pretty much it. Played a little bit around with the colors, just added a bit of saturation, and I'm done. I was good to go. This is obviously an interesting time, being stuck at home. You know, we can't really go out apart from our one walk a day. So it's an interesting time to push yourself and challenge yourself as a photographer. You know, what can you achieve? What kind of photography have you never done at home? There's loads of opportunities to actually take photos at home, which perhaps we don't always take because it's much more interesting a lot of the time to go out and take that perfect sunset photo or sunrise photo or star photography or landscape or portraits outside or anything like that. But actually, this is forcing us to look around the home. And this is a really interesting, creative thing to try out. Now, I'd love to see your photos. I'd love to see your home photography photos, whether you're going for something like we've done here. I'd love to see someone try this out. I'd really, really like that. Maybe put your own spin on it. That'd be awesome. But actually, if you tag us in Instagram, you tag us using @parkcameras or use the hashtag park cameras, we can come and check out your photos. We can feature you on our Instagram, and maybe we'll even feature you on YouTube as well. Maybe we'll do a full video. If we get enough people tagging us, we'll do a video where we can check out all of your great photos all together on YouTube. And of course, we'll shout out your Instagram as well. Now, if you have any questions about anything we've done here, make sure to pop it down in the comments. I'll pop a full list for all the equipment I use down in the description as well, so you can go and check that out. I will see you tomorrow for another video all about home photography. I think maybe we'll do pet photography. I think maybe we'll focus on taking photos of our fluffy friends and how we can make the best out of it, how we can do that in the house. You know, get some great pet home photography stuff going on. So if you want to see that, make sure to check back tomorrow. Make sure to subscribe, in fact, then you won't miss it at all. Make sure to give this video a like as well. If you enjoyed it, I will see you tomorrow. And as always, thanks for watching.